There
Not
it is.
working.
It's not working.
Not working.
Not working.
It's
not.
working now.
Yeah, it's working now. Because the Joeism.
Oh,
Oh, you've got Princess on there.
Do I? Aw, it's a princessism. Hey, princess. I'm gonna
I'm a
change that for you.
princess.
If you hold on. I got an idea. I'm gonna fix it. You are today. You don't get to be princess. Princess gets to be princess today because princess is here. So today, you got your option between Joe or the other Joe.
I am a total princess.
Totally. Princess Joe.
Princess Joe.
Okay, well, there you go then. You got
Yes.
today you are Princess Joe. Wow,
I need a crown
There you go.
or a tiara.
Yep.
That's an amazing looking set of letters right there. What do you guys think? Does that look good?
That's so great.
It's Perjaeus. 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 Yeah. All right. I won't keep it like that. I'm gonna change it back. All right. There you go. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. I am your host, the one that messes with everything and makes it not pretty. Below me is Joe. He will be the star of the show, the one that brings all the good fatty meats to the topics.
Fatty meats.
That's right. Joe likes some nice and fatty.
I do enjoy the fat part of whatever it is I'm eating, whether it's a burger or a steak or the bacon or whatever it is,
Yeah. Joe's gonna bring the fatty meats of wisdom to our topics today, and we also have Princess, who's running the show behind the show. Do you want a Princess Cam? Too bad it's not set up.
We need Princess Cam.
It is. Here you go.
Oh.
Sorry, you're on. Pretty. So, back to us. We appreciate you, Princess, for all the work that you do behind the scenes and making this show run well. So, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is the show where we talk about whatever is on your guys' mind. You guys give us topics, and we do our best to help you through them. In life, there's all kinds of problems, issues. Oh yeah, very nice hair. I gave her that comment in a window on the side. I don't know if she read it.
I did. I read it.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to respond because
no. We were talking in the middle of it, and I totally just sent you a message that said you had really nice hair. Anyways, so
it's interesting the way that your shirt color and your hair color and the shadowing and everything, they kind of start to blend a little bit. It's kind of cool like that.
Yep. And her skin looks absolutely vibrant today, and she just looks fantastic. Yeah,
well,
what a woman.
You.
All right. Back to the show. This is about sadness. Princess, stop being so beautiful. We're talking about sadness.
Back to us.
Back to
the
us.
Sad ones.
The sadness. No, we're here to basically help you along your way, because in life there's problems or struggles. Sometimes we get in fights with our parents. Sometimes we get in fights with our dogs. Sometimes we get in fights with reality, and we need to get slapped in the face. Life is hard, and you need people to walk it with you. And we're not in this life alone. There's all sorts of different people, and we want to be the kind of people that help you, that walk side by side and share their experiences. We aren't professional psychologists or psychiatrists, but we can attempt to stand by your side and give you a little bit of help. What we say isn't all facts. We know that it's just our opinions. We know that we're just telling you what we experience in them, and that's all friends can do. So feel free to seek therapy if that is going to be a better suited help to you in your circumstance. With all that out of the way, you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com to submit your topics. And really, you can submit whatever you want, but what we prefer is problems that you're going through. And because we want to give you our best, and we want to be sincere and help you. So, cool. Thank you guys so much all for being here. I see you guys in the chat, and it's really lovely to be with you guys. We love when you post in the chat. There's a lot of great wisdom from you guys that comes as well, and a lot of times we feed off of the things that you say. It really helps us to remember and walk down these different paths to help give our best. So we appreciate that you guys share in the chat. And you guys have different perspectives, which can help a lot as well. So thank you so much. But yeah, how you guys doing today? How you guys doing in chat? How you guys doing in the comment section for those who are watching later? I always forget to read those, but I really need to take time to get through and do that because I know there's some comments on there that need to be looked at, and those people are awesome too. We appreciate anyone who watches the show, whether you're lurking, I see you guys, or not. But how you guys doing, Joe? How you doing?
How am I doing? Man, I'm so fantastically amazing. You would not even believe it.
I'm glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And good. How about you, Princess?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Great. We're doing good. You know, life can be hard sometimes, but we try to stay in cheery spirits for you guys because it's important. And we're here together as a team getting through this life. And personally, I don't have any problems. I don't get problems. They don't get stuck to me. But I recognize the rest of the world doesn't have mucus for skin, unlike me. My mucus just lets everything slip right off.
You and your mucus skin, man. I tell you what.
It's great.
It's beautiful.
Mm.
That's the sound it makes?
Yeah. You touch my skin, man, it is...
It is
all kinds of wonderful noises.
Gooey
Yeah.
wonderfulness.
I'm cousin to... yeah, there you go. Static P slime.
Like caramel
slime.
And slime.
Yeah, like caramel and slime. Algae, that really slippery kind. You know what I'm talking about? That they put on the rocks so that you slip and fall and break yourself on the beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder whoever's putting that slime on those rocks, though. This stuff, geez, they're nasty people. Yeah.
Dang slime rock putters.
Yeah, slime rock putters. That's what they call them. That's their professional name.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get the show started. I'm going to refresh my stuff real quick, make sure I got everything in order, and we can go ahead. So the first one, is everyone ready for it? You guys good?
Ready.
Awesome. So the first one is from Hotsu, or Hotsu. I don't actually know how you prefer. It is titled Emotional Trauma. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen for you all. And so you are free to read along as you wish, whenever Princess is ready to read it for us.
I have had a close online friend that I've known for a couple of months. But we had gotten very close fast. Before this happened, they didn't seem like they were a really depressed person or anything. But they went through a very bad breakup. Then all of a sudden, they decided to try and cut contact with everyone, going so far as to delete their Discord and hinting at being suicidal. That's when I texted them a few days after they pretended that they had sold their phone on a Facebook marketplace. My friend and I were able to talk to them out of suicide after a while. All throughout their time, they seem conflicted where a part of them wants to live and the other part doesn't. This has been so stressful and I don't know how to deal with this. I feel emotionally scarred. How do I deal with the emotional aftermath after helping a friend from committing suicide? Do I need a therapist? I've never had therapy before. I've been checked and I don't have depression or anything. From Hotsu.
Yeah. There. Wow, I think I switched it at some point. Either way, sorry about that. I'm gonna hit it twice. If I did, I apologize. But yeah, that's rough. Because, well, I mean, it's nice that you it's nice that you want to help out your friend and all of that. And it's great that you're helping them take out, talk them out of suicide. And that's awesome. So I have to give you big props for that. I think that's really wonderful. I think that's obviously that's a huge deal. That's super important. you change their life when you do that, and that's really good. That shows a high degree of love, and I just really
Mhm.
want to commend you on that and say, way to go. Like that's beautiful, beautiful. Um, yeah, and it's really hard to deal with people who are going through that because it can be emotional straining, right? But
Mhm.
um, and even if you're not, what's interesting is usually when you are encountering someone who wants to commit suicide, it's very emotionally straining and it causes conflict within the relationship itself, just because everything is at so extremes. The emotions are at such heights that it's hard not to offend them with little tiny things. It's hard not to accidentally mess something up and put the relationship in a bad place. And so it's very normal to experience relationship problems while you're dealing with someone who has suicidal tendencies or suicidal thoughts, rather, not tendencies, thoughts. Um, so I just want to give you, just commend you and say that's awesome, and just recognize that um, you put yourself through that for their sake. I think that's really great. Um, or you know, um, and you saying you're not a depressed person. You've gone and seen. The thing is, like, absolutely, I think that's great that you're not. But even if you're not, it doesn't mean that you can't see a therapist, right?
Mhm.
People who don't have depression can still go see a therapist, um, and there's nothing weird or strange about that. Um, because one thing especially it can do is prevent you from going down that road of depression before it's too late. But
Mhm.
also, depression isn't the only problem in life, right? That a therapist can solve. They're therapists, not just they work in all different angles, and not just depression. Right? Depression is a very common one that they have to work, but they're there to help your mind get on track and start um, feeling good. About yourself and moving in the right direction and get your perspective to change a little bit. Um, and all of that is good, and it doesn't necessarily um, isn't necessarily something you only go to if you have the symptoms of depression. So,
Mhm.
with those two things, I'm gonna just move it over to Joe. I'm sure he's got a lot of interesting things to say that can be helpful, and I'm looking forward to see what he's got to say. So, here you go, Joe.
Mm.
Take it away.
Well, thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Hotsu, for the topic. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
so sorry that you have to go through this. That this is something that you've been burdened with because it is tough. It's one of those things where I mean, I personally have been on both sides of this coin, where I've been the person that was, supporting a person that was suicidal and or also being suicidal myself and needing support and I recognize how difficult it is on both sides. It's difficult for them, it's difficult for you, it's difficult for everybody. And I will second what Ryan said, and that you don't, just because you don't have the symptoms of depression or anxiety or whatever, um, it doesn't mean that it's inappropriate for you to go and talk to a therapist or even just a counselor. If you don't have any long-term issues like depression or anxiety or something like that, you may not have very many sessions with this therapist or counselor. They may be able to just help you, get your mind back on the right track, so you can get through this trauma that you're feeling, this because it is traumatic. um we get knocked off course by so many things in life, and they may not necessarily make us depressed. They may not necessarily make us, feel really, really, anxious, but the stress is real. The pressure is real. We might second guess ourselves. Did I do everything right? Did I say this right? Did I do this wrong? We can all these thoughts can just cloud everything,
Hmm.
and it can really uh, it can make us feel like we're just doing things wrong. I know I've been there many, many, many times where it's just like, okay, I can't seem to do any of this stuff right. I can't seem to get a handle on my thought process. I can't seem to get a handle on um sometimes it even can interfere with day-to-day living. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, when I finally decided to seek a therapist, was when, the stuff that I was dealing with started to interfere with my mind to the point where my day-to-day living was inhibited. It was you know, stuff was getting blocked, stuff was falling off the table. I wasn't able to accomplish things. It was really just starting to affect how I lived. And that at that point, it was like, okay, I really need to talk to a therapist. And I had friends that were like, you might think about seeing a therapist. And I was like, yeah, I think you're probably right. And then when I did, they went through all the depression and anxiety, inventories, and came to the conclusion that, I was dealing with severe depression and, moderate to severe anxiety. And it's been a journey to work through that. I'm still working through things with my therapist, because there are a lot of complicated things going on. But anyway, for your situation, I would say absolutely you can talk to a therapist, and it would be appropriate to. Because anytime we're struggling mentally with something, anytime something, we might just be really stressed out. That might be the only thing. And sometimes we need somebody to talk to that can really help unpack these things. Friends can be helpful. Friends can make a huge difference. In fact, friends in those cases are necessary. It's necessary to have support of friends, but they don't function the same as a therapist or a counselor. A counselor can really shed light on whatever the situation is and help you to, you know, untangle the mess and maybe point some things out that were really surprising that may even seem counterintuitive. Um, I've gotten a handful, probably a few handfuls of big wake up calls from my therapist about how these things work and how we go from, one situation into depression or into deep anxiety or whatever that might be. And it can, it can really help us to understand what it is we need to do and what kinds of things we need to do in order to combat that stress, in order to combat the fear or the anxiety or just whatever it is that comes about. A few things to pay attention to, as you're dealing with this, as you're dealing with this emotional, this whirlwind of emotion that's happening. um, Keep in mind, how much sleep are you getting? How much water are you drinking? What kinds of foods are you eating? It's good to just maintain a decently healthy lifestyle. And, you know, those things will contribute to a feeling of well being that will then create a great foundation for you to work through whatever's going on mentally. I know that exercise has been a huge thing. It doesn't have to be crazy. You don't have to go to the gym every day. You don't have to just, it doesn't have to be super insane workout program or anything like that. But even just stretching or walking, or you can find on YouTube, there are lots of beginner yoga type videos that you can watch and you can follow along with. And stretching can be so helpful in just kind of clearing out you know, the mental mess, because we are physical beings, mental beings, emotional beings, spiritual beings. We're a conglomerate of all these types of things put together inside us. And every one of those, if there's a deficiency in one of them, it can affect all the rest of them. Things going on in my physical life affected my mental well-being. That mental state then contributed to a downfall in my physical well-being, which then contributed to a downfall in my spiritual well-being. And all these things can kind of start to snowball on us. And so as we start to work through a lot of these issues, if we can maintain a physically healthy lifestyle, that's a great foundation. And then from there, it, you know, some people I've heard of, that alone fixes whatever they have going on mentally. They start getting better sleep, they start drinking more water, they do some exercise, even just light exercise, and start eating healthy foods, and that alone, that baseline physical well-being fixes their mental state. What's going on? It helps them deal with the stress. One thing that I learned when I was in Taekwondo was that if I was having a really stressful day and there was a lot of pressure going on, to go to martial arts class and physically work hard, and in that way, there was also, combat, so we're punching bags and all that kind of stuff, so that was very helpful as well. But to do that was a real cleansing experience. And it doesn't have to be violent like that. I mean, you can. My therapist recommends, she's like, "You've got a punching bag, use it. When you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, you know, man, go do something strenuous physically. Go punch the punching bag. Go do a bunch of push-ups until you can't anymore. Go whatever. Play your drums. Drumming is a very physical musical activity, which is great.
Mm.
But these things can really help you as you move through this. And like Ryan said in the beginning, we are not professional therapists. We're not counselors. We want to be your friend. And there may be something hidden behind the scenes that a therapist will find and see and help you work through, that we just aren't able to, see, because we're not trained, for one, and for two, we don't have the time to, dig in like a therapist would in their hour-long sessions, those conversations where they can really kind of get to the bottom of what's happening in your mind. And from there, you can start to lift yourself out of it. And so those are some things. That's what I have to start with. I'm going to go ahead and give it back over to Ryan, because he's really good looking and really wise, and you should all listen
Okay.
to him and look at him while you listen to
Oh,
him. So
great. Yeah.
I will
Don't you dare take
tell
your
you
eyes
that.
off of me. I better not see you blinking
Don't
over
you
there.
dare. You better not.
Yeah, if you're gonna be blinking, you better blink with one eye at a time. But don't you
I'll
dare
get all my
wink at
blinks
me.
out of the way. I'm
Okay,
blinking.
attractive.
Okay, now stare.
Okay, good.
Is that disconcerting?
Just please stare at me like that the whole time. I know that is. No, it is concerning.
It's
It isn't
concerning.
disconcerting. It is concerning. What is disconcerting as compared to concerning? And isn't
Dis
dis an
dis
anti?
disconcerting.
Oh, disconcerting. Okay, it might be
Yes,
disconcerting, but it is also concerning. Okay.
it's concerning. That's a
What?
concerning face.
Okay, what's concerting? What's the definition? To concert. What is
That's a good
concert?
question.
A concert? I know what a concert
But,
is. Is it
yeah,
disconcerting?
disconcerting.
No,
Ah.
disconcerting is causing one to feel unsettled.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Was that unsettling?
So if I concert you, that means you feel settled. I've caused you to feel settled.
Please concert me.
Please. Is that like console?
Concert's second definition that I could find somewhere else: agreement of two or more individuals in a design, plan, combined action, accord, or harmony. So if it's
Dang.
unsettling, the opposite is harmony.
Yes. It feels, yeah, when
Mhm.
we're concerting
Mm,
together, we're harmonizing. And when you're
mhm.
disconcerting, you're making things unharmonized.
Yeah.
I like it,
Tritones
which is
and,
why concert makes music.
augmented fourths and diminished seconds, and
Yes,
which
because
is
concert
actually
is a
the
bunch of
same note.
harmonizations of things.
A minor second would be the best.
We should get back to topic.
Whatever.
Sorry, we're
Like we weren't.
musicians.
Sorry, I'm apparently an etymologist, so I need to know these things. Um, I'm not. So anyways, I'm so sorry. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do the topic now. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah. Oh, I have
Feel like
similar
Prince is
glasses to
quite
you. I
epic.
just got a new pair, so awesome. It's fantastic. Um, anyhow, um, again, I'm gonna have to give you props for sticking with your friend as long as you could, right? When they were going through all of this craziness, and when you know, off of what Joe was saying and what I had started saying earlier, when emotions are high, like, and it feels like the stakes are super high on you, right? I mean, you put anyone in that position where it's like, okay, there's this person, and they're gonna commit suicide, and now you're taking responsibility because you're choosing to try to fight them on it, and now you feel like, oh my gosh, it's up to me. It's up to me whether this person dies or not. And it's not even in my control whether they die or not, but it's up to me because I'm the one that given the task to saving them. And you give yourself that responsibility. Now, do you actually hold that responsibility? No. It's important you know that you don't. And I say that because I've met people, and I myself have um, been been in relationship to people, or at least known people who have committed suicide, and people try to talk them out of it. People try to help, and eventually they do. And then what happens? The people who got themselves in that position of thinking that they're responsible then feel responsible for the person's passing. And it's a really rough time because it hurts a lot. Of course it does. But it's also something that makes you, I don't know, because obviously it's not your fault, right? They choose whatever actions they take, but it still makes you feel horrible, right? And you can't help that. You know why that is? You know why that is? Because people matter. Lives matter. When anyone dies or anyone passes, or even just the idea of it, right? Even just the idea of someone passing, it gets us going, right? It gets us worked up because that's the value of that life, and we recognize that value. Deep in our hearts, deep in our souls, we recognize the value of that other person. Even if they don't even die, it hurts. And when we try to enter into their life and we aim to help them, right? Whether we do or we don't, we walk out of that scenario feeling spiritually strained because it's like our spirit, our souls recognize the value of this person, and we just held so much weight, more weight than we can possibly hold or take responsibility for in our arms, in our hands, right? Because this is a whole human being. This is a whole human being, right? Everything included. And they all of a sudden you're the one picking them up and holding them and walking with them. And that is a lot, right? So naturally when you go through these experiences, it's natural to feel emotionally traumatized. It's very normal to feel emotional trauma after helping someone through this, after dealing with anybody who's going through these types of things, especially the people that you care about, right? Now, we live in a society where these things happen. And at some point, it does come about where people get, well, not everybody's the same to begin with, but people can get desensitized. right? People can get desensitized to this kind of stuff. And to some degree that's good, and to some degree that's bad. But just because we live in a society that has become somewhat desensitized to this issue, doesn't mean that we should be. And my point of saying that is, it's good that you feel this emotional strain from the aftermath of it all. My point in saying that is, don't try to fight necessarily to be like, I would rather be unemotionally charged. I would rather have received no trauma. And the reason I say that is because your trauma is righteous. Your trauma is well deserved. Your trauma is there because that's a whole person. It's a whole human being. It's someone worthy of love, someone who you love, someone who has love themselves and can give it. This is a whole life with who knows what they're gonna do with it. And it could be so many beautiful things. Even just existing is a beautiful thing. So we should feel trauma, and it's okay to. And to bear that scar is like a badge of not only just honor, but like a badge of recognizing you're human, or at least you're fully awakened to the fact that this is a person, not just nothing, right? You're dealing with a whole person, and that's beautiful. And so I say all of this to let you know that your feeling is okay, and that it should. Is it over? Did my stream stop? Are we not streaming?
No, looks like we're still on.
No, I'm still
Okay.
getting audio
Okay.
and visual
Good.
on my side, so.
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, good. All right. I'll just type no. No. And I give a heart. Okay. That way they don't think I'm being strict on them. No. Okay. How do you type with emotion? So anyways.
Emotes.
Emotes, that's right.
Mhm.
You say, good news though, they don't want to die anymore, though they now hate me. No clue why. And yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. Here's an important thing though. That good news is way more important than the bad news, isn't it? That good news definitely outweighs the bad news. If you had a choice of going, I could either save this person's life and have them hate me, or not care at all and just let them die, right? As the good person that you are, Hatsu, right? You picked the better option here. You would still pick the option you picked. Who knows why they hate you? And it could be that they don't hate you. They're just still emotionally traumatized themselves and still trying to figure out what they're doing and work through it. And they might even say they hate you, right? But they probably don't. When you're that worked up mentally and experiencing all these different things, emotions kind of make you fly off the handles sometimes, depending on who you are. But it's
And
very
especially
common.
because you're the person that was helping, that you were very present and upfront there, in some ways that makes you then a target of the feelings they have. They
Mhm.
were directing their
Mm.
feelings. They have all these emotions and all that conflict that they have, and it's directed towards one thing. But now that that course has been changed, then where are they gonna throw that at?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very
Sometimes
great point.
I've seen it several times with several stories from my sister, as well as, I've seen here or there myself, where it's been, once that changes, then it gets thrown at the person who was trying to help them. All that conflict inside and
Mhm.
emotions, and a lot of it can be, anywhere from anger to disappointment to upsetness, it gets thrown at the person, even though that might not be really how it is or how they feel. It could also just be a byproduct of that's where their emotions are pent up,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
So,
very well said. Very well said. And on top of that, another thing that's really important to recognize is you're basically like family to them now. You see, family doesn't treat family like they do strangers. family is often ruthless to other family. They're mean, they're
Mhm.
harsh.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though they mean so with love, even though they have love, family, it's weird, but that's the way it is. Um, and they're more open, right? And so now there's a chance that since you helped this person out, they've come close to you and they feel comfortable with you, and that comfort, that feeling of comfort, that sincere feeling of comfort that they have, now allows them to explode at you, which sounds weird. You care for the people you love? Shouldn't you like hold back for the people you love? But the truth is, the more you love someone, the more comfortable you are with them, and the more chances are that you're going to explode all over them with your
Mhm.
anger and discontent. And
Mhm.
that can lead back into making that person someone that you actually hate or that hates you, which is really awful. And you don't want that to happen, right? Of course, and that you might already be there, and by no fault of your own. But just like Princess said, that pent up experience has to go somewhere, and if they're no longer targeting it themselves, it has to explode outwards upon the world. And I would say that person needs some therapy, right? Needs to be able to have these things solved in their head, so they're not just exploding,
Mhm.
so they
Mhm.
can get things in order and digest things rather than spew everything out. Um, but that's not up to you, right? The only thing you can do is be there for them the best you can and try to help them go along that road to maybe seek a therapist or to have them start talking to themselves in their head in a way that is therapeutic. Um, and to do research themselves, but not diagnose themselves. It's very complicated if you want to do it yourself. Just really get a therapist, guys. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
But if you don't
Yes.
have access to a therapist, there's some
right.
other things you can do. There's mindfulness. Lots of mindfulness courses can be really powerful for people,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
for
Mhm.
Yep.
helping, find inner calm, finding peace, sorting through your thoughts. That's a lot of what a therapist is there is to guide you through your feelings, your thoughts, choices, and actions that you've gone through, been through, you know, to learn tools and ways to comprehend what has happened, process through it, and then get to a resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, if that's kind of where you're at, that totally makes sense. There are other times where it can just be helpful to find ways to decompress. And it might be that it's a variety of things, especially when it's a very tough topic like that. You know, when it comes to the topic of suicide, it can very much be like, hey, I need to, reach out and talk to someone. In this case, me and Hatsu, as Hatsu has said in the chat, is said, yeah, I spoke to Princess about it, and that helped a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
also, Princess was kind enough to put this topic into words for them,
Mm-hmm.
which, I'm always happy to help.
Mhm.
It got rid of nearly all the stress, and you prevented it from affecting me worse. And
It's
it
great.
can be very helpful to have somebody else where it's not all on your shoulders, not all on you, because especially in those moments, usually it's not always a group effort. There are times where I've seen it be a group effort, but there are also times where it very much feels like it's you and that person, and you're in a very tense situation for a very, extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it all comes crashing out, you don't want to be in a scenario where it's just all on your shoulders. You want to take that weight off of your shoulders where it's not just you, because again, it isn't really your responsibility. You stepped up to do something to help that person, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't ever, that responsibility isn't meant to be put on your shoulders.
Right.
It really isn't somebody else's responsibility to save someone else. But there are times where you step up to help when people
Mm-hmm.
are struggling. So again, I know that can be very helpful. And that's another reason it can be helpful to get a therapist. If you feel like there's not, many people around you that you can really talk to about things, a therapist is a great resource because they should be non-judgmental, listening, open, and helping you find ways to process through what's happened. Because again, as you said, you felt emotionally scarred. And that is trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and that's real trauma. It's not, "Oh, I'm just," it's not like "Oh, I made this up," or, "Oh, I'm not a war veteran, so therefore I can't have had traumatic
Mm.
experiences," and that's
Right.
not true. That's
Mhm.
not true at all. At least that was a stigmatism that I grew up with that was really tough, that unless you were under the most extreme of circumstances, it just wasn't real, and it's not true. So that's just what I want to reiterate and speak of. So I'll turn it back over to Rye. Sorry for
Yeah. No.
stepping in there.
Oops. Wrong thing. No, I really appreciate that. I'll find the right thing eventually here. Here we are. um, sorry about that. Um, and yeah, I think that was a perfect statement, Princess. Um, so yeah, I really don't have much I can follow up with on that. But Joe, did you have anything you want to talk about or add to it?
Um, I can't think of a whole lot. I'm really, really glad that they're not in the position of being suicidal anymore. And I'm sorry that it seems like that they hate you now. Um, like Ryan said, the people who we're closest to were usually the rawest version of ourselves with,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be hard. That can be really, really hard. And another thing too is that, when someone is there through a traumatic experience like this, and it can happen that traumatic experience gets identified in a way with you. Like they went through this time of being suicidal, you supported them through that, and then so now
Mm-hmm.
as they think about that experience, you are one of the identifiers of that experience because you were there with them through it. And so sometimes I've had relationships before with people very, very close to me where I've had to come to the idea that what the best thing I can do is talk to their friends and or other people that have influence with them and let them know, "Hey, I'm so glad that you are their friend, that you are a person that they look up to, and that and please continue. Please continue to be their friend. Please continue to be that influence, that good influence because I love them and I care for them and I sorry. Um I'm just so thankful that you're there and please continue.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it's almost like I'm handing that person off to them, to their care, because there's not much I can do. There's not much I can do when somebody hates me. There's not much I can do for them if they don't like me. I can't. I, if they're not wanting to talk to me, I can't help them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what's my next course of action? People who they will talk to. And I don't, the goal isn't to try and convince them, hey, you know, will you talk to this person and tell them to be my friend again, or tell them to like me again, or send them back to me. It's not about me at that point. It's about because I love this person and I want what's best for them. And it's more of just an attitude of thanking them for being a friend and just letting them know, hey, it's really important for them to have you as a friend. So, and you probably know that they've gone through a really stressful, traumatic time. And it's really important for them to have friends. And so they might get emotional, they might lash out, there might be, and so just to help them understand, maybe have a little patience, and try to, you know, keep that friendship alive so that they can then help move this person forward. Um, so yeah, it is so hard. It is so hard when we pour ourselves into another person and then they reject us.
Mm-hmm.
They end up hating us. But we still care for them. We still love them and we want what's best for them. And so, um, one of the things that I've learned that I need to do in those situations is talk to those people that are their friends and thank them for being their friends and let them know how important they are so that hopefully that can strengthen and solidify the relationship that will move the person that I love who now hates me forward. So, anyway, that's pretty much what I have. So,
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That's really heartfelt. I've definitely had to do that some few times in my life. And so I really appreciate that Joe said that because I had forgotten what that's like. But yeah, uh, before I was Static P, I've spent most of my life helping people, and it's still, when you meet someone who wants to commit suicide, you still don't, I still don't know the way, right? It's always different with everybody, and it's still extremely taxing, extremely difficult. Um, Even if it's just someone I met for a couple of days, but it's especially hard when it's someone that I knew for a long time, right? So there's my point is it's not easy, no matter how
mm,
many times you do it, and that's just
hmm
because every person's so valuable, right? And we know that, and so it's hard. And yeah, but I think what Joe said is very valuable. Definitely do that. If you know their friends, and it seems like you do from what you wrote, um, some of their friends, take that chance to say, hey, I don't know what's going on between me and them, and they don't seem to be listening to me anymore, and it's fine. But um, you know, they're angry at me. I'm not sure why, and that's fine. I'm not asking you to help me be friends with them, but for their security, for their sanity, for their well-being, please continue to be their friend. Keep reaching out to them because I'm really worried about them. I think
mm,
that goes a far way. It goes a really long way, and it helps prepare that person. Now, a lot of times you'll be telling those to people who already know, who are already trying to help, and they'll
hmm
confide in you. Actually, I remember going up to a couple of times this happened. One time this happened to me, um, where someone said that to me. They were the ones coming to me, and I was like, "Oh, I already know this person is going through a lot, and I've been talking with them and trying to help them too." And they're like, "Oh, thank God." They're like, "I thought I was alone in this," and I was like, "No, I'm trying." And he's like, "Okay." So this and this and this other thing that they're going through. I'm like, I knew about almost all of that. That other thing's helpful, and I'm like, they're like, okay, okay, and blah 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 blah, and they're just trying to help me help them the best that I can because at this point they've broken the relationship for whatever reason. But it's obvious to me it happened, not because of this person and their lack of care. This person cared a ton, and so that reminds me of you in your position. Um, and yeah. Um, so it happens. It happens a lot.
hmm
Um, and
hmm
my yeah, all you can do is I think do what Joe said. That's the best thing you can do. So I really appreciate you saying that, Joe.
mm.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Well, thank you. I sorry to leave on such a sorrow note, but that's the way these are. And I hope that it goes well. And I do hope sincerely that this person changes their mind and comes back to you as a friend. Um, After they get through things, they might reach back out and say, "Hey, I'm sorry about stupidity I was back then," and just welcome them back with great open arms and welcome and love, and just say, "Hey, I'm just happy to be with you again. Don't worry about the
hmm
past. I want to be
hmm
your friend." So,
And one of the things that you might learn also, Hatsu, in talking with a counselor or a therapist, is ways for you to find peace in this situation.
mhm,
Because inside it can tear us up. Inside there can be a lot of turmoil because of this type of thing. And they might be able to recommend different ways. Princess talked about mindfulness, different things like that. Mindfulness meditations, those are great. I mean, great ways for you to set yourself at peace in the midst of the feelings that come as a fallout of dealing with this situation. So I would highly recommend, what Princess recommended, and also if you talk to a counselor or a therapist, they may be able to also recommend ways for you to find peace amidst that storm, amidst that uh, the crazy that's happening. So I would go back and re-listen to what Princess had to say, re-listen to what Ryan had to say. Um, you you don't have to listen to what I had to say.
I suggest you do. You better. I'll come over there and beat you in every
There's a lot of good
competition.
input.
Yep. So hopefully some of that can be helpful for you. And my hope and prayer is that you can find some peace amidst all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for staying with us as much as you could, Hatsu. I recognize it's super late for you. So if you were too tired to listen to all of it, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and listen to it. Luckily, because it's YouTube, it's saved. So feel free to listen at any time. Moving on, if we can, I'd like to go to the next topic. Thank you so much for the topic, Hatsu, and I really hope all things go well for you. And especially your friend in dire need. And thank you again for being such great service to them. That is really important, and I just want to once again say I admire that. I think that's so good. So thank you, Hatsu. So yeah, Meowlado, are you ready? Are we okay to do yours? I want to make sure that we are, because I recognized it was up in the air a little bit. Here? Okay. All right.
And also check the other chat. Just
okay.
if you guys haven't seen that, I just want you to see that before we go in.
There's nothing there. I don't know which chat you want. Is there another other chat that I don't know about? All I see is 35 minutes.
I got you. I got your at.
You got it. But okay, is there another other chat that I'm supposed to be looking at?
There's a group
okay.
There's a group
I see,
chat
I
in
see.
Discord.
Okay,
if it's that chat,
okay, hold on. I have
know,
to quickly read through this, guys. I apologize. Joe, entertain the world. It's on you.
Entertain the world with okay.
With your mushroom garden. Oh, I don't know that we can
Probably
hear
can't
it.
hear that. Probably can't hear it because
They will if you can talk and do it.
I will talk and play the drum on
there
a
we
bowl because I said
Shh, Joe, you're distracting me. I'm trying to read this. You're too entertaining.
You tell me.
You're too entertaining. All right.
That's my new original. It's a Joe original. Came from Joe.
Wow.
You got
nice.
You got
well
me
done,
solo Joe screen.
Yeah,
solo Joe screen.
Yeah, solo Joe.
Yeah, solo Joe.
Dude, seriously, come on, put Princess on.
Oh, okay, my bad. Jeez, sorry about that.
Oh boy. The resident princess cam is that
I'll be
happy.
I'll be happy to entertain them as long as they don't have to look at me.
Wow.
Wow. Hi, chat. How's it going? Kendra's got a cute cat. Just decided to jump up on her lap for an improv cuddle. Cuddles are good.
Single cup of Joe.
A single, just one. That's all you need, really.
Joe.
It's a single, man.
With
Dude,
a side
every morning I need a double.
Better. You need a double. Yeah, 2 is better. That's, I mean, obviously. Okay.
See?
I've got it figured out.
Cool.
I read.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the wait, guys. I hope you were entertained and enjoying the show. Okay. Great job, you two. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the
great job,
ready.
YouTube. You're awesome.
YouTube, yeah, YouTube. So this one is from Meowlado. It is titled "My Father's Passing." So this is gonna be a bit of a rough and emotional one. So I've got it up on the screen now, and you are free to read it as soon as you like.
My dad passed away. As I've told you, and as I've mentioned, my twin brother thought it would be good to do a topic on it. We planned to watch it together as a family with our mom and older brother. I'm not sure what to say. It's a lot to process. I trust you, so feel free to go in whichever direction your heart feels is best. I'm sure your words will provide some comfort and help to work through it. We deeply appreciate you taking the time for this. Thanks. Meow.
All right. Yeah. You know, right off the bat, I'm really sorry that you guys are going through this. It's never,
Mhm.
it's never, never easy to lose your father. Um, it's really hard. It's really hard. Um,
Mhm.
it's hard to lose anybody in your family, because you care. And that feeling that you have, it's hard to explain. It's hard to get it out into words. But I think one of the best things that I can say about it is what I just said in the last topic. What that feeling inside of us, it's there and it's good because that's the feeling of us recognizing the value of that other life, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That other life is a life. They're valuable, and so of course it's gonna hurt a lot. It's gonna hurt a lot. It should. It should hurt, and so it's okay. You don't have to cry. I remember I didn't cry at my grandma's funeral. It was the first one I ever went to, and um, she was such a sweet lady, and it was it was hard. And it was really hard, especially watching my mom, and watching her loved ones go through it. Because at the time I was only, you know, 7 or so, and so I wasn't quite understanding everything, but just watching everybody was like so uncomfortable. It's like I don't have words. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And so I just kind of froze. And I think that that's a normal experience that a lot of people are that experience this. Um, you just kind of seize up and you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm helpless and unhelpful, and all I can do is just experience this and try to do my best to move things along. But
Mhm.
it's hard. It's hard. And so my heart goes out to you guys, and um, I hope that things go well for you guys' emotional experience, especially, and all of this, and that you can not necessarily get over it as if it didn't matter, but get through it. Um,
Mhm.
get through it, because that's important, so we can continue our lives without being so traumatized we are stuck frozen, right? And that happens. I know that happened, like, to some friends of mine that were close. They just got stuck and froze in their position in life for months. Some people up to a year where they're unable to move just from that trauma, and that's okay. Um, but I would never wish that on anybody. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Joe. I know that he's experienced some of this, and so I'd like to hand it over to him.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Ryan, and Meow. Thank you so much for the topic, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you guys are going through this. This is such a painful time, and I hope that I can bring some comfort. I it's interesting. I'm not sure where you guys stand religiously, but I know that in in my case, that's been a comfort, to realize, our belief system about, what happens with death, all that kind of stuff, right? So, but here's the thing, whether you're religious or not, our we never truly lose the people we love because we have their memories. We have those times we can sit and we can talk, and those are always some of the most cleansing times, and some of the most helpful and healing times is after we have a funeral or whatever. Excuse me. That we sit together as a family and friends, and we talk, and we talk about different stories of things that were great and things that were fun, and all the memories that we built together, and that can be so helpful. And another thing that it does is it helps us to realize how important the people we have with us are to us. you know we when we lose someone close, we realize how important it is to have the people that we have that are close to us. And like Ryan said, the pain we feel is important. The pain we feel, it just shows how deeply we loved that person, how deeply we still love that person, whether they're with us or not. Love is one of those things that brings us to the highest heights and to the deepest depths. Because love is it is I think the most powerful force in the universe. It has the power to bring us together. It has the power to cause us deep, deep pain. And we run through that roller coaster. And so right now, as you're dealing with this, hold each other close. Love each other. Talk about times you've shared. And it's okay. It's okay. Like Ryan said, we all experience death in a different way. Some people cry, some people don't cry. Some people, they just go be by themselves and they don't say much at all. Sometimes people, need to have those that are close to them really close to them. And this experience, my goodness, just like Ryan said, my heart goes out to you. I am so sorry. And I hope that you guys can continue to love each other and continue to be close and understand how important we all are to each other. Yeah, you and I have talked some on Discord. We've worked on musical projects together. You're an important person to me. And knowing your quality, I know that you come from a high quality family as well. And man, you guys are just so special. So I don't know. I could go on and try and fill the air with words, but I think the best thing I can do is turn it back over to Ryan because like I said before, he's a man that's full of wisdom and he's been through all kinds of fun, crazy stuff.
Fun and crazy. Yeah,
Fun, crazy, felt the whole, the
the gamut.
love in its heights and its depths. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what Ryan has to say. So,
All right.
Ryan?
I'll give it my best. I appreciate where you took that. It's interesting because you're right. Love is the reason, right? Um, a lot of times you love something so deeply, and that's why it hurts so deeply. Even when you don't recognize that you love something, um, sometimes you don't see it until it's already passed. Sometimes you know it while it's passing. Other times you see it and it's plain as day to you. But there are occasions where we hurt deeply only upon its leaving, and then we finally recognize, like, oh wow, I didn't recognize I even had love in my heart, that there was a place for that or that thing or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they say time heals all things, but I think that's not a correct statement. It's not true. It just isn't. But that doesn't mean you're going to be stuck here forever. It's rather a contingent statement. Time does heal all things so long as it's provided the necessary love to do so. Love and attention, right? And so I really like where Joe took it, because I think it is important to continue to love and heal this love with love. Feel this deep pain by pulling the family together if you can, and acting out in ways that are loving, and to support each other. I think that's important, right? Beyond that, also loving yourself, because that does a great deal of improvement, right? To love, I think it's important to just classify. Love can be many things. One of my favorite definitions of love is to desire the best for the sake of that person. So to love another person is to desire the best for that person, not for your sake, but for their sake. And being willing to do what it takes to help them get there. That's a really strong form of love, right? But you can also do that for yourself, right? If you desire what is good for you, right, then you're going to be focused on doing the things necessary to make yourself grow and to get the best, nutrition, to get the best lifestyle, all those things, right? All those are important. So continue to treat yourself well in these times of sorrow, because it's so easy to get so full of this pain and this dark feeling and get wrapped up into it that you end up letting yourself go. That you end up just going, okay, I'm just gonna dig deeper into this darkness. I'm gonna let go. I'm going to stop, being a part of society and just seclude myself and stop, taking care of myself. And it's easy to go down that road, but it's really important for your sake and for everyone you love, right, to not go down that road. That road, if you're already there, that's okay. Sometimes we do need to go down that road at times. It's true. But for the most part, if we have the choice, we want to try to do our best, right, for ourselves and for the people around us. So I encourage you to support each other if you can, in any way that you can, with the love in your heart and with the love you have for your father. I have a father that has ALS, which is like your father. And mine will probably pass within this year. I was never that close with my father. We were close, but not super close. I come from a divorced home, so that helps paint the picture a little bit. And the thing is, though, I love my father, and I recognize that I can't do anything, right? It sucks. Can't do anything until he's gone, and then there's still nothing I can do, right? So the only thing I can do is try to go and reach out to him when I can. Spend a little bit of time with him, as much as I, am able, healthily, and also pray for him, and that's about it. And so it can be rough recognizing that you can't do anything, and yet everything, this person, this human being, this creature with a soul and who can say things to you and communicate affection and love or wisdom, intelligence, who can communicate all these things to you, and does and has so since for years and years. Recognize you can do nothing to stop its end, and then it finally comes to an end, and it doesn't hurt any less knowing that it's gonna come. It hurts, period. Whether it's sudden or you knew it, and sometimes it can hurt more when it's coming, because you have so much time to think about it, and it's awful. So I was just saying, I sympathize. I sympathize with you, and I understand the difficulty, and it's okay that it's difficult. And I just want to say, sometimes the best band-aid to this deep hurt from love is actually just more love. And that sounds hard, because love is what got you here to feel these pains, right? But the reason it's painful is because we recognize how valuable that love is and how valuable that person is. And so don't forsake love just because it hurts. And if someone's losing blood because they're having a transplant, what do? They pump them full of more blood. You have a surgery, they keep you on IV, they keep you on um, stuff like that because they recognize, wow, this person could lose out too much blood and die. So you fill them with more blood, right? So that's the same thing here. Right now, probably feels like you're losing blood. Your soul's like king out of you. You know, you're just bleeding here. Well, don't, don't let yourself just bleed. You know, I mean, get more blood in you, right? And how do you do that? Don't. Okay, here's how you do that though. This is important. You don't want to turn to other people and say, "Love on me. I need this." No, instead, what you do is you act out love. Because when you act out in love, that's how you get your fill, if you will. That's how love is a mysterious thing. The analogy kind of breaks here with blood, but love is a mysterious thing in that the more you are loving on others, the more your heart is open and receiving it. The more it can notice it in others, and the more it can be filled up by it. When you act out in love, you feel lovely. Um, right. And so, what I encourage you all to do, and you know, you're probably already doing this, right? You're already doing this. I know that you are, but just to continue doing it, love on each other the best you can, and recognize that love that the other people are giving you. But don't stop yourself from loving on others. Make sure you do that because that's going to be the most healing thing you can do with this experience. You know, you can take pain and you can mold it into something. You know, there's always that statement. There's a reason for everything, right? You know, and that's really hard to deal with in the presence of death. But you can take this pain and turn it into something good when you use it to recognize the value of each other around you, and you pour out into them, right? You pour out your love into them. Even if what you feel inside is pain, it's still very good, and you transform that pain into something very beautiful and good. And so I just want to encourage you to do that. But yeah, Joe or Princess, did you guys have anything you want to add to it? Princess?
I
Okay.
do. I have
Yes.
one of the biggest things that I've learned about grief. Um, in my life, I have lost in high school. I lost a classmate. Um, actually, two. One was from my school, and one was actually from a different school, part of a program that I was doing, an after-school program. Um, which I wasn't necessarily super close with them, but it nevertheless brushes life at every level. You know, even for those that don't know somebody well, they still made an impact if they knew them. I've also lost my Paka, who is my step grandfather.
Hmm.
That but he was basically a grandpa to me. And then most recently, I've lost a coworker at work that was my mentor at the program that I mentioned where we lost a student. That was very hard as well. And I found it's not it was a picture, but it reads like this. People tend to believe that grief shrinks over time. What really happens is that we grow around our grief. And I found that that was very helpful, that it isn't a thought of, "Oh, well, I'm slowly going to forget them, or I'm going to lose them, or just over time, they're going to shrink out of my life." Because I have found that's not how it works. That person still fills that spot in my heart. I just have grown in my capacity and in my life to hold more. And so in some ways, it's smaller, not because it's any smaller, but simply because I have grown. So that's just one thing that I found was very helpful, because that person means a lot and they hold a very special, dear place in your heart,
Mhm.
and that's not going to change. It might hurt less because you've grown in capacity. It might, not be so hard, in once time has passed. Or maybe it still is. But it's not about having your grief go away. Because at the end of the day, that person's still there. They still live on in your memories. They're still a part of you, as we all touch the lives of others with our actions and our words. So, you know, I think there's also some hope in that, you know, where it's you have the hope of they're still there with you in some ways, in the ways that they have touched your life. And hope that this also isn't going to be the end of everything either, because there is still more life to go,
Mm,
whether a short amount or a long amount. There is still life beyond this person. And that's really hard. It's super hard,
mhm,
especially when it's someone super close. My Grammy, who was married to my Paka for, I don't remember if it was like 50 years, but it was a really long marriage. And a lot of what we've done is, have family around for, when it was his birthday, when it's the holidays. Having family can be very helpful and very healing to have people together, to share time together, to spend time together, um, and to have happy moments that we make and not, be overcome by our grief. It also might be helpful. I know I had a roommate, a dorm my very first dorm person. I'm so sorry I'm butchering that, but anyway, she lost her brother right before she entered college, like
mm,
2 months that
mm,
summer, and that was really hard for her, they had family around and but she went to some, therapy counseling. She also, she's religiously Catholic and went to some resources with that too, to help her process through her grief. You know, there is no shame in getting help if you feel like the grief is just overwhelming and gripping in a way that you just are really struggling. That's totally
mhm,
natural. That's totally
mm,
normal. And it's okay to get help. It might be short term, it might be long term. It could be school counselors, it could be, a licensed therapist, whatever ends up floating your boat. But there's no shame in having help to process, because it is something that really touches the depths of your hearts, especially when it's somebody so close.
mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that's all
All
I've
right.
got at this moment. If Joe or I, either of you have something more you wanna say.
Joe, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure. I do want to say that I want to reiterate what Ryan talked about, and that's be kind with yourself. Be kind to yourself. You know, have some patience with yourself, and there is healing that can happen through this experience. Um, when everything's so fresh and so new and all around us, it can seem like we're not gonna ever move past it. I know I've been there with multiple different situations, whether it's death, whether it's divorce, whether it's loss, all, of friends, all kinds of stuff, and we can feel almost like we're trapped in that moment and unable to move on. But time does heal. And one of the things that I remember asking this question of myself when I lost my grandpa. This was back right as I was going into college, and um, there, I don't. Nobody asked this question to me. Nobody said this to me, but I had. I don't. I'm sure I've heard it at some point, and it just stuck in my mind. And that is, okay. I loved him. He loved me. What would he want me to be doing right now? And there's a time for grief, there's a time for remembering, and there's a time for all of these things. I mean, um, there's a song by the Birds, Byrds, Turn, Turn, Turn. There's a time for everything. And actually, that song is quoting the book of Ecclesiastes in the
Yep.
Bible.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say,
And
but you got it.
yep, there there's a time for all of these things. There's a time for grieving, there's a time for mourning, there's a time for getting up and moving forward. There's a time for all that. And one of the best ways I could honor my grandpa was to live. And it can be so hard. It can be so hard to move forward. And at the same time, it's like, okay, I want, I love him and he loved me and I'd like to, live in a way that he would like. I think of, what would he want me to do? And my grandpa was the kind of person where, he was really a happy and fun and just a wonderful, wonderful man, right? And he was so great. And I could just hear him saying, "Hey, it's okay. I'll get up and go do something fun. Go get up and, you know, in my case, I'm a musician and I was a musician and he always seemed excited at, the prospects of my musicianship and, he so I can he kind of is always sitting in my corner even this many years later. And when I think about him, I think about how he's, sitting in my corner. He's cheering me on and he's telling me, "Hey, you know, get up. Go go work on that. That's a beautiful part of you. Go do it because it's good." And also, I also wanted to re-emphasize another thing Ryan said, and that is rather than going and trying to get love, as you're trying to heal, as you're trying to move through this time, actively give love. Because it's when we're in these moments, when we're feeling this depth, that our love is the most real and it's the most pure, and we can have compassion. My therapist recommended to me as I go through, this stuff that I'm dealing with, recommended a movie, but that has the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and I think it's Mission Joy is the Mission colon Joy, I think is the name of the movie. And there's a lot of great stuff and a lot of great stuff that I'd already heard, time and time again. It's good to be reminded of some of that stuff. But one of the things that really struck me was towards the end of the movie, they talked about these times that are so painful. Like what's the use of them? It hurts. Maybe it's oppression, maybe it's loss, whatever it is that's so painful. When we go through that depth, it awakens our ability to have compassion and to love at a deeper level those that are around us. So, and as hard as it can be sometimes, but that honestly is one of the things that can help heal us the most is when we're experiencing this depth of pain to recognize that it's love. It's that depth, the deep parts of love. And when we can express love for others while we're feeling that depth of love, it comes across in such a more meaningful way to those around us. So you guys have a chance to love each other deeply and to care for each other deeply. And even in those around you that maybe aren't as close, maybe they're not family members, but you have a chance to love in a very, very deep way. And again, I'm so sorry because it hurts so bad. It really does. And as Princess said, she shared with me that same thing she shared with you about, how our grief doesn't shrink. We just grow around the grief. And so then the grief takes up a smaller part of us, but it's still there with us. But we've grown. That was so inspiring when she shared that with me. It was so helpful. And I hope that, some of this can be helpful for you guys. But with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ryan. So,
All right.
Ryan?
Yeah. I just have one last thing I want to say. And that's on a small note. Hopefully, and hopefully not something that anyone in your family is dealing with. But I just want to say, don't harbor resentment. Right?
Mm-hmm.
People say live a life of no regrets. What do you want to do? I want to die with no regrets. I think regrets are fine. Regrets show that we believe in something better, that we could have done better or things could have been better, and that's good. That's how we have hope. Regret is okay, but to have resentment is a whole nother creature, right? And so if you harbor any form of resentment, that's the place where time doesn't heal all things. Because resentment doesn't heal over time. Resentment will make time a multiplier. Okay? And so if you have any sort of resentment in your heart, free yourself from it. If you need to forgive someone, forgive them. Just recognize, you know what? Oh, first of all, we're all people. We're all humans. We all make stupid decisions. We're all selfish at times, and sometimes we're selfless, and that's not good either. Um, we all have things that we've done that aren't great. Sometimes someone passes, and you're like, I didn't get to say the things I wanted to say. I didn't get to forgive them before they passed. I didn't get their forgiveness before they passed. Sometimes that's the reality of our situation. And so if that's the situation for anybody here, I really want to say, please, now's going to be the best time rather than later. Because you don't want to harbor that resentment. That resentment will linger on and make time a multiplier of pain within you. And it will come out in ways that will make you love like a
Like a demon?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. Your love will not be love. It happens.
Okay.
Your love is going to be full of selfishness, and it's not going to be really what love is, right? Seen it, and I've seen it, and I've seen it.
Have you seen it though?
I've seen it. And I've seen it in a lot of my, unfortunately, a lot of my dad's side of the family. And it's been hard. It's been really hard for them, and I would never want for anyone to deal with that. So, if there is any kind of hardship, anything that needs to be forgiven, whether you've done something wrong or whether they've done something wrong to you or someone you loved, right? Regardless, right now is the best time to coat that. You have this experience and you recognize this pain, no matter how strong it is. Maybe it's super powerful and overwhelming, maybe it's not, but you have this seedling of love. Take that and let it grow and wrap around this experience so that you can forgive and forgive them. Recognize that feeling is because they have value and they deserve your forgiveness. So, and you deserve forgiveness from them. Do you deserve forgiveness? No, okay, that's technically an inaccurate statement. But my point is, it's best. Okay? It's not deserved. Forgiveness is never deserved, right? Deserving is what would be if you didn't forgive. But my point is, if you don't forgive, you hold on to that with a grudge, and it doesn't just go away, and it makes everything terrible. And you want to be able to have this person's love that they invested into you amplified by time, not your anger about something amplified in time, right? So the best thing you can do is go towards forgiveness. Princess, it seems like you have something you want to add.
Oh, I just wanna give the forgiveness is not saying that whatever action they did was okay, like, that it
Right.
was,
Mm,
good or
mhm,
whatever. If it wasn't good, it wasn't good, it wasn't good.
Right.
That's
mhm.
not forgiveness. Forgiveness is right, Joe, do you remember the correct wording on that definition?
Go for it, Joe.
It's recognizing the wrong and then letting it go. It's
Thank you.
healing for the forgiver, not it's not letting the other person off the hook, but it's
Mhm,
letting it go so you don't poison yourself with that resentment,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting, it's backwards because we think, "Oh, forgiveness is what," like, that's how the other person that did that bad thing to me, that's how they get better. No, that's how the victim gets better. That's how the victim of that event gets better is through forgiveness. The
Mhm,
perpetrator gets better through repentance, through being sorry and for making reparation and doing that stuff. That's how the perpetrator heals from the experience. But the victim heals through forgiveness.
mhm. And one of the
Thank you.
best, yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of the best ways to paint forgiveness isn't an economical view, right? If someone owes you $20, when you forgive them, you're saying, look, like obviously you should have paid me back, but clearly you're not doing it, and maybe you can't. Maybe you just don't have the financial funds to pay me $20. But I'm gonna forgive you. I'm just gonna let it all go. I'm not gonna make you pay me, right?
Maybe you're
And
too busy being addicted to Twinkies and,
yeah,
like
yeah, Twinkies are
Skechers
so
bars or
addicting too.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably spending your money on roller coasters and Twinkies. That's probably it, yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah, with mayonnaise.
with mayonnaise, great. Um, no, I was gonna say, which is, um, but you could get paid back $20, but still hold resentment in your heart for that person because they took so long to
Mhm,
pay it back, right?
mhm,
You're like, man, my debt to them, it still isn't paid in full, it feels, right? Forgiveness is that which heals that feeling, right? Forgiveness when you are able to say, nah, you don't have to pay me back before they even can. Now you allow yourself to be ridden from the feeling of even possibly getting that sort of resentment going, they should have paid me back and they should have been sooner. And they should be, honestly, they should be paying me 15% per day that it was like, cause now they owe me like $100 because inflation. You know, so it's important to let those matters go in your heart. And you do that by saying that person, maybe they did wrong, or maybe I did wrong by them and I feel sorry for it. Maybe I'm the one I have to forgive, right? But whoever it is, they are no longer, it's no longer necessary for them to do any more. They are loved just as they are. And in the state that things are in, it's, I'm going to stop desiring that they do something for me, right? To pay off the debt. So it's a very valuable and important thing to do in all of your relationships. Now, that's again not to say that what they did wasn't wrong. It's not to say that judgment isn't important, or sorry, justice. That justice isn't important. Justice is important. We should still, people who have done criminal things should still be punished in a criminal way, or for those who, acts within the system. But anyhow, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because don't I would like for all of you to grow beyond this experience and have a wonderful life and not be held captive and as a slave by resentment, because I know a
mhm,
lot of people who have, and it's a real struggle.
mhm.
And usually what ends up happening is they go to a therapist finally, and then they get their resentment worked out there after many years, or they don't, they die a bitter cold person, and that's not fun either. um
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, that's rough. But anyhow, hopefully you did this topic justice. No one has anything else they want to add?
Meow, you are awesome.
Yes, we love you.
Thank you for being a part of our lives. Thank you for being a part of my life on a personal, like just for me personally
Mm-hmm.
to you. Thank you because you are awesome.
And our hearts go out to you and your family.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
I second all of that. Yeah, it was super awesome. Well, thank you so much for this topic. And again, I hope we did it justice. Obviously, we can't as a whole human being, but and we can't do, miracles. But we appreciate that you would bring your topic to us, and we hope that you guys, feel loved, love each other, and that everything's going to be okay. So yeah, we have time for one more. Yes, good. All right. Love you all very much. I'm gonna type in the chat. Let's do the next one. It's hard to move on after a topic like that because it feels wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, now that topic's over. On the next one, it's like, well, no, it's not over because they still have to deal with it for weeks to come, years to come, right? It's still going on in their life. True. So it is a little bit, it's hard sometimes to move on from topic to topic. And
well, like with all things, you have to close a chapter.
Yeah.
There's an importance in moving forward, even if it's just for the moment and coming back to it. So.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Agreed. So, on to the next one. We're going to have an anonymous. This one has been titled Unintentionally Toxic, which, that's a great title. I'm interested to see what this is about. So, I'm going to go ahead and put that topic on the screen. And, whenever you're ready, Princess, you can read it. Anyone who wants to read along can.
I think I can be unintentionally toxic. When I'm in a good mood, I'm in a good mood. But when people make me angry, I get really angry. And I get angry for long periods of time. If I don't like you for a huge reaction, I make it known. For a huge reason. Apologies. I don't know how to fix it. From Anonymous.
I see. I apologize that the topic wasn't on screen. I've been pushing buttons, but they haven't been responding. I just looked at the back of my deck, my stream deck, and it was like not all the way plugged in. And I was like, well, that explains something.
That would do it.
Yeah, and I was like, why is it doing this to me? And so I think it just wasn't plugged in all the way. I'm hoping I fixed it. Let me just click and spam it. All right, yeah, it seems to be okay now. Yeah, you guys are welcome for that.
Yeah, you're gonna switch through a whole bunch of scenes right now?
Yeah, you want me to? Okay, this is Joe. This one's me. This one is the topic. This one is us together. This one's Princess, and then back to us. Yeah. All right, everything seems to be working now. All right. Yeah. Anyways, sorry about that. That was unimportant for me to say any of that, but you're welcome. And I apparently felt like I had to defend myself for my poor behavior of switching the scenes this episode. All right.
You're on the topic.
Oh, good.
All right. I'm not truly flustered. I'm just enjoying the silliness. Okay. So, sorry. Onto the topic. Yeah, being unintentionally toxic. That's a really that's a big deal because you want to make sure your relationships are the best they can be, right? And then when you notice yourself and notice that you don't have the best way of saying things, I think that it's definitely important to get yourself figured out there. For the benefit of the people around you and for yourself and for your relationships, obviously, right? But if this is truly something that you're doing, I think it's one, really great that you noticed. I think that's fantastic. That's really great. And two, a great place to start working on yourself so you can get your relationships where you want them to be, right? And I'll tell you what, Joe has a lot of excellent experience and growth and even what's the word? I was going to say teacherhood, but that's not the word. In this department, to be honest, I've learned.
I do.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about talking to people from a couple of different resources in my life, and one of the best and most influential ones was Joe. Whether he knows it or not, it was entirely by his actions were an example for me. The way that he spoke to people was an example for me of how to be good at dealing with people and how to treat them well and how to say things in certain ways that make it not toxic, that pull people into a direction that make them feel like they're not being set up for something. Whereas usually someone might say the same words but in a different order, or try to say the same thing but in a different way, and all of a sudden I feel like they're attacking me. I've never in my life felt attacked by Joe. And so Joe might not recognize this quality about him, but I personally do. I think that he's great. So I'm gonna give you to him and see what he's got to say about it.
Oh my, how do I follow that, man? I don't even.
I love you.
I love you too. Back to Ryan.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Shoot.
Wow. So, all right. There are a couple things that might be a thing here. So, okay, I'm just going to read this again out loud. I think I can be unintentionally toxic. When I'm in a good mood, I'm in a good mood. But when people make me angry, I get really angry. This is how I'm reading it, when I was reading it along.
Mm-hmm.
And I get angry for long periods of time. If I don't like you for a huge reason, I make it known. I don't know how to fix it. You know what? There might not be necessarily a Band-Aid fix or like a quick fix or whatever for this, right? Some of the things, I mean, I can guide you to resources. I can send you to some books that that have made an impact to me in this area. But one of it's pretty crazy. This could be a personality trait of yours that might just be inherent in who you are. I know people who are extremely explosive in all categories. Explosive in fun, explosive in happy, explosive in anger, explosive in all these things, right? They just explode all over the place. That's what they do. They explode. They're very, very...
They're exploders.
What's the word? They're...
Like creepers from Minecraft?
Yeah, man. I'm a creeper, Minecraft Grim Reaper.
Okay. Reaper. If you're going to say creeper like that, you got to say Reaper like that.
Reaper. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, okay, so there are a few different places you can go. 16 personalities is something that you can do. They've got a little test, a short test, so you can just Google 16 personalities. It'll take you to a Myers-Briggs type test to determine what your personality style is, and that can help gain insight on why, or well, maybe not why you act the way that you do, but it can give you these explanations. And it's crazy because you take these tests and you answer these questions, however many questions there are, I don't know, 20 or whatever. And then it gives you an assessment and it tells you what type of personality you are. And then it explains what that type of personality is. And I remember doing mine and I was just like, no way, that's me. Holy cow. Now, I am not an exploder. I am not an explosive person. I am like, it takes me a long time to get angry. And then it takes me a long time to get unangry. Some people are like firecrackers. I'm like, slow hill up, slow hill down. This is just how I operate, right? And that resource can give you some insight into who you are, and then also can give you some pointers on how to deal with yourself. Because you got to live with yourself every day. There's no escape.
Escape. That's accurate. That's accurate.
You will spend more time with yourself than with anybody else in the world. I promise. Can't escape that dude, man. Follows me into the bathroom. I had no
Gross.
privacy.
No privacy. That's great.
So, but these are different ways that we can learn about ourselves, right? So that's one thing. The 16 personalities website, and they'll have a little test, and then yep, there you go. Princess has the link in the chat because she's awesome. Her personality type is awesome. Just so you know, like that's it.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But so that's one place you can go, and that'll help you kind of figure out a little bit like that. There's a book called Personality Plus that breaks it down just into 4 personality types. It's a little bit simpler of a system, right?
I like it.
I like it too. You have 4 personalities. You have cholerics that are hard driving people. They're the leaders, man. They're bossy. You're a choleric if you run into a lot of dumb people all the time.
They get things done.
They get things done. They end up in leadership positions,
Yeah.
management positions. They move the ball forward.
Either they get
right?
something done or they get someone else to get something done, but they get things done.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And but they're rough around the edge when it comes to people. They don't really have the best tact and people skills. They're direct, right? Then there's sanguines. They're the life of the party. Yay! They're super fun, right? But they're also the exploders. When they're angry, they're really angry, and then they're done being angry in like 5 seconds, and then you're just like, "What in the heck just happened?" Right?
Yeah. Like I'm still working out everything you just did to me.
Right. Like I'm still trying to
Still
figure out all the
processing
things you
that
just
roller
said. They've
coaster.
already moved past it, right? They're just like, "Whatever, well, woo, it's fun." Right?
Yeah.
But that's that personality. Then there's the phlegmatic personality. That's
me.
more like Ryan. Easygoing. They are the best friends. They're the
Aw.
best kind of friends. They are. I tell you what, because they're so patient and they're so kind and they're so loving and they're quiet, but they're just so kind. They're like the world's buffer zone.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's accurate.
Mm-hmm. They're the cushion between us all. They smooth everything out. But, they might not necessarily be all that driven. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's okay. Because they're gonna love you. They're gonna love you anyway. They're gonna so hey, whatever. It's cool, man. It's good. And there's the melancholies. That's what I am. I'm a melancholy. We are the most crazy people. We're the very detail-oriented people, and we're very particular about everything. Like, I have to wear soft fleeces in the winter. You will notice that that's all I wear. Because
Why? Because it's smart, and because it's smart, Andy, and it's super intelligent, if you will.
melancholies came up with the yellow lines in the middle of the road. They came up with stoplights. They are, like they're generally brilliant, maybe not that great at people, but they also can get things done. It just takes them a long time, but you can doggone well better be sure that when it's done, it's going to be done correctly
Right.
and cautiously, right?
Yes, great caution.
Yes. Those are the 4, right? So anyway, that's Florence Littauer's book, Personality Plus. One of the things I will tell you this, because it sounds to me from your post here, um, you feel like you can be unintentionally toxic. A couple things that you can do is learn people skills. And that will reduce your toxicity levels by a bazillion %.
Mm.
Whatever bazillion is, right? Because when you start to learn how to handle people, it smooths all that out. You can get books on attitude, you can get books on fixing yourself, all these kinds of things, right? But really, if the problem is you feel like you're toxic, there's a people skills thing going on, right? It's like, even though you might get upset, you can still be upset with people skills. And what happens is you come across as assertively making your point known, and you're not toxic. Now, inside, you might be screaming, but it's smoothed over by how you handle people. The best people skills book I have ever read is How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. I learned more about how people are, how we all are. People are people. We have been people since the beginning of people.
Mhm.
We just have different technology and different toys and different tools now than we used to have. But people are still people. And and when you learn how to handle people, you will more than likely most of the time not come across as toxic. You will not be toxic because you will be handling people with care. You will understand that they're a person just like you, and they have dreams, desires, hopes, goals. They need validation. They need love. They need stuff to eat and drink and a place to sleep. These are people, right? And you start to understand. And then what it does is it takes the focus off of you, off of self, and it puts it onto that other person. And then, see, here's the thing. Most of the time when we become toxic, it's because we're self-centered. It's because we're thinking about the things that they did to us. They made us upset. Right? But when we take the focus off ourselves and put it on them, we watch them doing something crazy and it's like, oh my gosh, like, why are they doing that? Rather than thinking, oh my gosh, they did that thing to me. It can still hurt, but you can take a step back and put the focus on them and be like, man, they're really, I don't think I'd ever do that. That's crazy. But then it can help you to understand and ask questions and get to the bottom of why they did what they did. And then it draws them out and smooths the situation over. And it creates when we focus on another person, we automatically reduce our toxicity. Because all humans crave to be listened to and heard. We all want to be heard. No matter what our age, no matter what our, intelligence level, no matter what our degree, no matter what our profession, no matter what we do, we want to be heard, we want to be listened to. And when you do that for another person, you are the least toxic. But what that requires is taking that focus off of yourself. And a lot of these resources, what they can do is they can help you. You get yourself figured out. You're like, okay, this is how I operate. Okay, fine. How do I deal with this? Great. Now, how can I deal with other people? You learn that stuff, man. You'll think you're being toxic, but you won't be. It's weird. Ryan said he's never thought I was toxic. I'm sure I've been toxic.
All right.
I would say ask Princess.
Maybe I just can't see it because I'm phlegmatic. No, that's not true because I notice other people being toxic.
That could be. Princess
No,
knows I've been toxic.
you're a human. You have moments of ups and downs. Don't
Well,
think that
like all of us.
I would label you as a toxic person
Okay.
because that's not who you are. You are a multitude of things more than just particular moments.
Yeah. Thank you. You're so sweet.
You're welcome. And it's true.
So, anyway, that's pretty much what I have. I'm turning it back to you, Ryan. You're the host. You do what you want.
All right, back to you, Joe. Sorry, you shouldn't
Except
give me
for
that
that,
much
it's
power.
going to be really boring
It's
because
gonna be
I
really
already said
boring.
what I'm going to
Okay,
say.
well then I'll do
I'm
my
just gonna
best as a
sit
host.
here and I'm going to be like, okay.
I'll try to make it entertaining as a host. No, that's not the point of the show. It's not entertainment, but it is for you guys. So I'm gonna do my best to give you my best about this. I really like what Joe said. It is important to recognize that it could be your personality. And I'll tell you this: a personality, though, is not an excuse to be toxic, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, when you recognize your personality tendencies lean towards an area of toxicity, then you know what to work on, not to say, well, that's just who I am. Because who you are is contingent upon many things, but your personality, you get to shape that to some degree. Not all the way, but you're going to have good things about you and bad things about you. You're going to lean towards certain good things in life, and you're going to lean towards certain bad things in life. And if you can do yourself the favor of looking at those bad things and going, hold on, I can fix these, then oh my gosh, you're going to be everyone's favorite person. I could talk about myself in this area. I had my personality is to be lazy. And of course I still am. But I learn and I recognize, okay, that's a natural tendency of my personality. So I got to work with that. I got to make sure I focus on that, right? And so that I don't just laze around all the time. My brother, he has very similar to you. He was not very good with people. And it's not necessarily that he was toxic, though he could be considered in certain situations. It was just like he had no reason to care about what other people thought. And so why not just say things like they are, logical, without caring having a care in the world for how they might feel about what his statement is. And he actually went through the process of looking at some of these personality plus deals and getting talked to, and he started working through it. And I'm not sure what he would say is the reason that he developed, and I'm sure it's many different things. But over time, he's worked himself into a person who may not notice all the time about how much he's not paying attention to other people's emotions when he says things, that he's like solely focused on the logic. But the way he says things is so much nicer and cleaner, and then every once in a while he'll come back to it and go, oh my gosh, you know what, I'm so sorry, I recognize the things that I said now could have been kind of mean, and so I apologize. And usually for me it's always like, I didn't even care, like that was, I didn't feel assaulted by any means. But he recognizes it now, right? And that was something he didn't recognize before, and so he can at least come back and apologize when he doesn't catch himself. But generally speaking, he's created a habit in the way that he speaks that he no longer makes people angry at him by the way that he speaks, right? And so a lot of this isn't necessarily about changing your personality so much as it is creating new habits about how you speak, about how you pay attention to other people, and how and listening to yourself from their perspective to some degree, right? One key thing that we have said many times on this show, I remember the first time I encountered this phrase, I kind of invented it, but it was when I first started recognizing I was gaining friends rather than not. When I first started recognizing that people liked me and who I was, right? When I was being the person that I wanted to be, right? Because a lot of times we aren't the person we want to be. We're just being the person that we sort of think is socially acceptable, or etc. And there's a point in that. Being socially aware is very important, right? Otherwise you don't even notice that other people hate you, because you're being really rude and you don't notice that. Like, those are things that you should fix, right? So being socially aware is a very good thing. But being in such a state where you where you hide yourself, or you dampen yourself, or whatever, where you act a certain way that is perhaps fake because you're worried about other people disliking you, right? If your worry is that, oh, people are going to hate me, that's totally different than the worry of saying, I want other people to feel good, right? I want other people to feel good around me. It's totally different than saying, I'm afraid of being hated, so that's why I act this way, right? They're very different things, and they have very different outcomes, even though they sound like they would be very similar. But what I was going to say is the phrase, and that is, what is most important in dealing with people is not what you look like to them, but what they look like to themselves when you're around them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm going to
True.
say it again. This rubs in your brain all the right ways, okay? What's most important when you're dealing with people is not what you look like. It's what they look like to themselves when you're around them. Why? It's not any manipulative sort of thing, but pay attention to the people that you like most. Who are they? Think about this. Are they the people that you like being around because you feel good about yourself when you're around them? Generally
Yes.
speaking, yes. If you feel good about who you are around people, around certain people, your mind wants to be around them more. So do someone a favor and make them feel good about who they are. Go up to them and compliment them on the things that you notice in them that you want them to feel good about themselves in, right? Maybe especially things that you notice they're working on. Maybe they're working on a personality trait that they're dealing with. Maybe they are working on their linguistic skills. Or maybe they just have them ace already and you're like, dang, they're so good at that. Maybe they're working, on their game, like at basketball or something, right? Or whatever it is. Find something good, a good attribute about people, and focus on that in them. And make sure they know that you appreciate that quality about them. They might discharge you. They might, just say, "Oh, no, I'm not that great." But still mean it and say it and affirm it and say, "No, I really do believe that. Like, you don't have to agree with me, but I really do find that quality about you to be quite attractive." And people will like that, and it's going to immediately push you in the direction of changing this habit where you could get toxic, because instead you're starting to create a new habit, and that is to notice the good in others and to talk about them, or talk about that with them. One way that you can avoid toxicity, even in toxic moments, is to apply the gentle hand of compliments. When you are in a heated debate with someone and you help them by when you're in a heated debate with someone, an argument or whatever, right? And you take the time to tell them that they're intelligent, that they are smart, that they are well, logical, and that you agree on certain points, and that you look up to them in many ways. And in things like that, you affirm them, right? Your arguments will generally stop being toxic. They might still be heated, but they will stop being toxic at the least, or at least you hope so. I can tell you that from my experiences, doing that with people starts to calm the toxicity levels and allows for an honest debate. Doesn't always work, but it tends to, right? And so make sure you spend time creating a habit in yourself of focusing on that other person, like Joe said. And when you're focusing on them, right? Because what's a conversation for? The conversation isn't for yourself. You're already there for yourself. You can have a conversation with yourself, but it doesn't include the other person. So when you're having a conversation with someone, make it about them. And make it about them in a good way, right? Make it good for them, right? Because you have influence over the people's minds, right? We don't have much control in life. We can barely control our own bodies half the time, right? And so we have very limited control. But what control we do have We have to recognize that that's really important. And we should be really responsible with that control that we have. And something that you have control over to some small degree is what you put in other people's brains. So if you spend your time putting into your own brain the habit of putting good thoughts into other people's brains, generally what's going to happen over a period of a friendship, that person is going to have the habit of being good to you. And you're going to have the habit of being good to them. It's interesting. I remember a relationship I had with a couple of people. I went into the relationship. The first time I met them, I was being really silly. And that was a lot of fun. And basically, I transformed. Whenever I would hang around a certain group of people, I would be what Joe said before. I would be sanguine. I'd be like the life of the party. I would be absolutely silly. Me and them would just go off on each other, being ridiculously obnoxious and fun, and everyone wanted to be around us. We were the life of the party. And then I would get into my other normal group of friends, and my personality would just switch. And it wasn't by command. It wasn't a mask. It was just how my habits in my brain were saying, oh, you're around this person, you're around this environment. This is how you act in this kind of environment, right? You have a specific way you act around any kind of specific environment, whether it be someone's angry at you or there's a really sad environment, or maybe it's a party, you know, we all have, or it's at school and you're trying to study, right? There's all sorts of different environments for our personalities to manifest different ways, right? And so who we are manifests not just in one singular personality, but in many. My point of this is, when I entered that group, I came in with a certain frame of mind, and that frame of mind became an immediate habit. And for other friendships I had to work on those to get the right habits in order. And it took like a month or so of me continuing to work how I'm supposed to be acting towards these individuals. How I'm supposed to be listening to these individuals, not trying to figure out what's the next thing I'm going to say, right? But actually listen to them, right? And that transformed the way those friendships moved and developed into healthier friendships. So embrace that. And, you know, just to further push on this, you know, personality thing, right? It's good. But it's not the end all be all. You can change as a person. In fact, you're going to notice things about other people's personalities that you're going to like a lot. Don't be afraid to take those things on yourself. Because they're good, right? That's a good trait. Try to have good traits about yourself. You know, what you're going to notice is you're probably going to compliment people on things that you already have good traits in. And their response might be, well, that's just something you're already good at. You know, why are you complimenting me on something that you're good at? That doesn't make sense. Well, it does make sense. Because good traits are good traits, right? And this is something you worked on, and you maybe you worked on it, maybe you didn't. But if you did work on it, you recognize the value and how hard it was to work on it, and that's why you're complimenting it. That's how you know to compliment it, right? And so don't be afraid to compliment people on things that you would compliment yourself on, because they're good traits. And then also look inside of them and just notice the good. Notice the good, notice the good. And that should help make your brain, at least to some degree, create this habit of overriding toxicity by recognizing the good, right? Because when you recognize the good in people, you start to give them the benefit of the doubt. And what I mean is, when they make you angry, you might be rightfully angry. But when they make you angry, your brain will go, hold on, they're a good person. Why would they try to make me angry? Let's reanalyze what they said and see what they mean. Let's reanalyze what they said, and if I think it's mean, I'm going to address it in such a way that asks them, hey, you're a really good person, and generally you never mean to hurt me. So what did you mean by this? Right? That's a great practice. And I encourage you to use those exact words. Next time you feel yourself getting toxic or angry because someone was saying something to you that is, you have full reason to be angry about. Take a moment and recognize, hold on, this is a good person. Why on earth would they try to make me angry? That doesn't make sense. Something is amiss here. So ask them, and you come to them and you say, hey, I can't imagine, you're a good person. I can't imagine you try to make me angry. So I'm going to guess I misunderstood something, or I'm understanding something the wrong way. Can you please explain to me why you would say this? Because you're a good person. Why would you try to, that doesn't make sense. And it gives them the opportunity to fix the problem without you having to explode on them for them to realize there's a problem in the first place. Because a lot of times people don't realize that something they said was rude. They just say it. But by giving them the chance to recognize it, you're doing yourself a huge favor. You're doing them a huge favor by letting them see it, but you're also doing yourself a huge favor by throwing the ball back in their court and letting them resolve their misuse of words, and then calming the scenario and you don't have an issue, a tension on the friendship, right? You just have oh, okay, you meant that. Okay, wow, okay, right? Or maybe they said something that just is offensive, and you're like, hey, I think you got something wrong here, because what you're saying, I don't think you recognize how offensive that is. Let me talk to you about this, right? You pull them to the side and you give them the benefit of the doubt that they're a good person and they want to be good, right? So you take that approach with people by recognizing they're a good person. They want to be good. Maybe they're confused, and maybe what they think they're doing is good, but it's not. So you need to help them, right? Now, of course, we can be wrong too. We can be wrong too. And sometimes we're in the wrong. And sometimes we need to go, hold on, I'm getting this wrong because I shouldn't be offended by this, right? For me, a huge changer in my attitude at school was just recognizing I have a choice of whether I'm offended or not. That's not necessarily the choice of whether I was angry at first or not, right? I might have been offended for the first millisecond, but I can take a step back and say, hold on, I can choose a different route. I don't need to be offended by this. Actually, instead, what they said about my face or my hair or about whatever, I can say that's a jerk thing for them to do and move on, but I'm not going to give them that joy out of offending me. So instead, I'm just going to calm myself and be like, you know what? People are dumb. Some people are just dumb. They need help. But me, I'm just going to keep on working. I'm just going to do what I was doing. They don't know any better. Maybe there's something going on at home. I don't know. But either way, there's something messed up in their head if they're going to say something like that. Or I can take another approach and go like this, you know what? What they said was actually kind of funny. And then laugh with them. And just laugh with them and enjoy their humor. Enjoy their humor with them. And you know what? I did that once, and all of a sudden I was this person's friend. Before that, we had always been enemies in my mind. And then I did that once with this person. They said something about my hair. It said something about a goat eating it like grass. And I was just like, what kind of ridiculous statement is that? That's just absurd, right? And so I just chose to laugh with them instead of, I was actually offended at first. And I was like, Ryan, don't be offended. Laugh at this. It's dumb. I'm like, you're right, Ryan. And so I just laughed with them. And all of a sudden, this person and I kind of got along. We would say hi to each other in the hallways. We weren't super close friends, but I recognized it was in a position where if I wanted to, I could pursue that friendship and be friends with them, which is interesting. So my point is, you are in control of your attitude, and you can do your best, right? We all have reactions, right? And our reactions are habitually programmed, right? Generally speaking. Our perceptions and our reactions to things, the first thoughts that come to our brain with certain statements, those type of things, they're programmed into us, right? But they're susceptible to change with new habits. And so I would implore you to create new habits in your head that are good ones, that notice good in people, that give people the benefit of the doubt that they're good, and you try to work those things out with them. Some people aren't good. And you're going to find that along the way. And that's, well, unfortunate for them. But, and secondly, that when you get angry, recognize that you have a choice about what you're going to do next. And you can do things that won't make you angry, and you can do things that you regret.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that choice of action. And I would highly recommend choosing to do things that don't make you angry, choosing to do things that don't act out on the anger. Because your own body language will change the way you think about things. Because you can't help but noticing your own body. You know, when someone does something mean to you and you are kind to them, right? Not a kindness that you just like, haha, I'm retaliating by being kind, but no, an honest, genuine kindness. Like, because you recognize the person has problems and you need to help them. Or maybe you can't help them, but at least you can try to make their day better. When you do that, all of a sudden your brain can't help but notice the action you just took. And all of a sudden your anger just goes away. And you just feel like that person that just gave compassion, and your brain is now just focused on being compassionate, and it doesn't even remember that it was ever angry. It's interesting and it's fascinating, but how you act will change the way you perceive the world around you and yourself and the way that you feel. So those are my best answers for you in this situation, and I hope that it's helpful. I'm going to give it back over to Joe. And Princess, if she wants to add anything, but if not, yeah.
I really don't have anything else.
Okay.
I spent my spiel in my
Perfect.
spiel.
Oh, did you? Huh. Nice.
My spiel is spent.
Wow. Good. Perfect.
What,
I
Princess?
don't have anything to add.
Okay.
That was all I was gonna say.
Good. Perfect. Well then, thank you so much for this topic, Anonymous, and I hope that some of that helps you. I would highly, highly recommend that you read the book that Joe sent. I know that it is a miracle worker, if sort of. It doesn't actually do miracles, but it really does wonders.
No, but the information can really help. You know, it just opens your eyes to how people operate.
Yes.
And when you can understand that, it paves the way to all these things, and your toxicity just automatically goes down when you start applying these things.
Yeah. And also, when you read something, you're sort of living it out. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference entirely. It does to some degree, but not entirely. The difference between imagining something and actually doing it. And so your brain can actually create habits by reading material, because as you read the material, you experience that, and you believe in your subconscious mind just starts making habits of it and starts living that life out. It's pretty amazing. So highly recommend that book.
Yep.
So yeah, thank you all so much for being here with us. Thank you for all of your positive comments and feedback and just loveliness. And we appreciate you so much. Thank you for your topics, everyone who submitted one. And our hearts and prayers go out to you, and hope that your days will be well. And yeah, and we love you. Yeah.
Much love all over the place
All
on
over.
this show.
So hard all over the place. Just like the love is so.
There's just love everywhere.
Yeah. Ugh, it's just all over, everywhere. But it's great. It's fluffy and chill. It's like living inside of a cloud, except for this cloud can support you and you're not falling through the sky. Wow, that went morbid. Real quick.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your support. We couldn't have the show that we have without you.
That's right.
And go to don'tworrywednesday.com if you have a topic.
That's right. If you want to submit a topic, please do that. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye. Much love.
Love you guys.
Oh, there's the heart.
Oh.
Bye-bye. See, I got you on screen for the first time. I'm just giving the heart. All right, bye-bye, guys.